Hey everybody, this is Way to Fail with another Scrolls Ranked replay. Today we have a great matchup between sysp and Khymera, two top 100 players, sysp usually within the top 5. I do want to start by saying thank you all for watching. If you have any feedback, please leave it in the comments. If you have a replay of your own, please send it to w2freplays@gmail.com. But without further ado, let's get started. This is a matchup between sysp, an energy player, and Khymera, an order player. Both of these players doing their bread and butter, and honestly both genuinely nice people, so it should be a good matchup here as we see sysp starting off with some very useful cards. The Violent Dispersal and Thunder Surge, definitely good utility, but maybe don't want to get him right away. But he is going to sack probably the Fury or Bombard early since he has no creatures out, but Khymera is in the first position. And you all may be aware of another, as sysp sacks the Fury there, you may be aware of another replay mod that's out there that will let you see both players if they both upload a replay. So hopefully we can get some replays soon from both players' perspectives. But as it is, it's going to be Khymera's turn here, as we're going to see what does he have early. Probably not much for 2 order, but sysp getting a Gravelock Outcast, which is an interesting card to have in this deck. But I assume it's because it's a 3 energy card more than anything, as he does get rid of the Bombard as well. So Khymera with the first creature out, a Royal Spearman. Spiky doesn't do particularly great against a lot of energy units because they are ranged, but it will be very effective against the Gravelock Outcast because he's not. So Khymera with a quick Pother, as he just goes ahead and drops down the Spearman and puts an Infantryman as well, and Blessing of Haste. So that Blessing of Haste on the Spearman immediately takes out sysp's first creature. But it's still early. Both players are jockeying for a position as sysp gets a great draw with 2 Violent Dispersals. Does a quick discard and burns to exact his revenge on Khymera's Spearman. So we're left with 1 Infantryman and not much else for Khymera. But like I said, it's still early. So he moves up in the middle, and once again, this is what Order likes to do. Order likes to go ahead and bunch units, which makes them susceptible to Thunder Surge, but they have so much health that that 2 damage is only going to soften things up. But Khymera is still trying to take advantage of the middle of the board early. And right now, sysp doesn't have a lot to respond with. He does put down the Scattergunner on the bottom, just opting to take control of different parts of the board. Doesn't want the Scattergunner to be a chump blocker this early. But 1 quick damage, as this Infantryman is buffing the 2 Skirmishers. And sysp is just sitting on cards, and he does get a Violent Dispersal, which notice that he used it on the card that was about to attack. That's what you want to do if you can early, is just try, but if you have a choice between 2 units, use the one that could attack quickly. At least force Khymera to play something like a haste if he wants to use a card right away. But Khymera back with just his forces, and he doesn't have a lot to do other than just a quick resource grab, so it's going to be up to sysp, who can use a Violent Dispersal on the other, or on Khymera's other unit, which is exactly what he does. And a quick just 4 damage to the idol, so sysp's getting first damage on the idol, as right now there's 1 little Infantryman just waiting to do a little bit of damage. So Khymera sitting on the cards that he has, maybe not a lot to play, maybe anticipating some move in the cards from sysp. He does have another Violent Dispersal, so the next big creature Khymera puts down, sysp can take out, but he elects to put down the Cannon Automaton because the Ducal Infantrymen, while effective, not necessarily the kind of card you want to drop just a kill card on. Maybe if he gets a burn, he can draw another card. But at this stage of the game, Khymera's got something in his hand as he decides to use Imperial Resources early and moves to protect his Infantryman. No reason to needlessly lose him there. So notice that sysp is playing with Tick Bomb, which is a great card to use against Waking Stones, which is a really annoying card, at least for me, to deal with. And Khymera right now has just 1 creature on the board, no stones at all or anything. He would have probably dropped it by now if he could have. But sysp with a lot of options. He could go ahead and burn this Infantryman and clear the board. He could play a few Scattergunners. He could drop another Cannon Automaton if he wanted to. So it's going to be just a lot of choices here for sysp, as he has significant board control early, as Khymera hasn't been able to take advantage of the middle at all at this point. So there's a quick Pother and a Kabonk and a Pushback. So right there, just a good little combo, using the 1 damage from the infantryman to take out the scattergunner, and just to get some extra card draw, and you want to do that as much as you can. And with the pushback, that very menacing line, not as menacing as it used to be. But sysp still has options. He can burn, he can play the automaton again, which he does. So Khymera with 6 cards and 8 resources. This is another thing Order likes to do, is just ramping up, getting cards early. You may take some damages. There's another pushback and a Royal Spearman, which pushback is significant because it's slowing down sysp. He only has 7 resources, so he can't play necessarily everything he wants to play. Like, he could burn and draw a card, but with the 1 cannon automaton out, he'd really like to get another one of those. So Khymera playing the slowdown game, just trying to get a resource and card edge early. But sysp does have some elimination cards, and he does elect to eliminate the Spearman, so we're back to 1 infantryman versus 1 cannon automaton. I know who I'd pick in that fight. But sysp electing to get out a scattergunner on top of that, which is perfectly normal. He does have 7 energy, or 8 energy now. So quick sack for scrolls, as there's the focus, and double focus on the infantryman, and an honorable general as well. So I was totally wrong about who I'd take in a fight. I'd take the infantryman every time if he's double focused. Sysp is acknowledging it as well. The one-man army of Khymera right here, as he's definitely a one-man army again, because Sysp is just violent dispersal. The honorable general said that could happen, and that's why he tucks onto that card. Sysp showing you why it's good, even if you have cards you can't play in the opening turn, that there's some cards that are key to your deck that you don't want to get rid of. Violent dispersal, very important against Order and Growth, because they both have giant creatures that you want to get rid of. But 2 scattergunners is suddenly... This infantryman is staring death in the face. And Khymera commenting that he expected him to get killed, but there's a speed on the Royal Skirmisher. So once again, because of the infantryman buff, a double buff of the infantryman, the Skirmisher is actually going to go through and do some idle damage. So quick board clear for Khymera, quite the turn of events. But there's the burn, as once again we get our ducal infantryman, who is still standing after how many turns. He could actually possibly use a blind rage to do some damage here. He could blind rage and spark and totally kill that guy, but he elects instead to get the cannon automaton out. As the automaton is cowering in fear, you can see its little twitch shake there. And maybe that's the right move. But there's Imperial Resources, as he's slowly healing up his idols and doing a little bit of damage as these units buff each other, which is pretty nice. But he does have some sparks, he has some blind rages, so definitely he can do some direct damage here as he elects to blind rage and up the cooldown. So this infantryman still alive after all of these turns. And Khymera has 8 cards now, 9 Order. Let's see if he can do something about this other automaton. There's a Skirmisher. And there's a speed as well, and a focus, so right there. That 1 infantryman with the extra, well, not so much that time, but able to buff, able to still be alive. And Khymera just continuing to clear sysp's board. Round 15, and sysp, I know he'd like to have more out here by now. But he does have some cards he can play. He could, there he goes. He goes with a blind rage just to try and do some damage once again to the Skirmisher, because as great as this infantryman has been, the one-man army infantryman, you do want to prioritize taking out the Skirmishers, because that relentless damage can be nuts, as you've seen, if you can get focus, if you can get Blessing of Haste or Speed. But there's a quick kabonk just for some card draw and some Imperial Resources. So Khymera not hurting for cards and not hurting for Order. Sysp kind of in the problem spot here, as he does spark and take out that Skirmisher, as once again the blind rage is slowing down this infantryman. And we do have some cards here as well. A Bombard could be key, a Hellspitter Mortar could actually do a lot to protect. So Sysp, although he hasn't been able to get out necessarily what he wants, is not exactly in a terrible position. So let's see here. He does have a Gravelock Elder and a Cannon Automaton, but don't put it past Khymera with all the cards he has to be able to clear this board at once. So there's a Ducal Skirmisher, and once again he does move cards up, as there's 2 Blessings of Haste, and there's another Infantryman, so at least 1 card's down. And there's a Kabonk, and that was actually a really interesting move there, because he elected to Kabonk. You may say, well, why didn't he Kabonk the Cannon Automaton? Remember, with the Armor 1 here, you have to do at least 2 damage to do something to it. So right there, Khymera, good card awareness, hurting the Elder, and then hurting it just enough to where he could do 2 damage and knock down the automaton's life just a little bit. Whenever you have a chance to shave some damage off a unit, take that opportunity to do so. But sysp drawing a few more cards here. He has some creatures he could play. He could bombard as well and drop the cooldown. And let's see if that's actually what he does. He does bombard, so he plays all these creatures. And oh no, our hero, let's take a moment of silence here. Our hero, the one-man army ducal infantryman, has been slain. Okay, there's your moment. But another infantryman is there to carry on the torch, so let's see if Khymera can do it. Let's see if Khymera can do another ridiculous board clear. Does he have it in him? He starts with a pushback, gets a skirmisher out. So one more time. Sysp saying thanks for the heal, and I gotta take a quick pause. So right now Khymera having all kinds of creatures lined up on the board as we go ahead and drop this back in. And right now he has plenty of cards to play, but it is Sysp's turn if Khymera can just have these creatures live. But Sysp elects to put the Hellspitter Mortar out just to protect his units and gets the Cannon Automaton out again, which, keep in mind, pushback is good, especially in the early game. But once you start getting something like 10 energy out, you can just play cards and cards and cards. But still, Sysp only has creatures to respond, and it's going to be interesting to see what Khymera can do here. There's a speed general, exactly what you don't want to see right away. And there's a focus on the general. Sysp saying, just in disbelief, but, well, no, sir, because you have just lost everything but your Gravelock Elder. And I know Khymera would have loved to take out the Elder, but you know what, being able to clear 3 of those cards here. But Sysp gets another... Actually, he elects to concentrate fire, which is great because that's going to mow through these units here as we get the double attack. And he gets out the Gravelock Outcast as well. He could play the Mortar or the Gun Automaton if he likes. He elects to go with the creatures because the Hellspitter Mortar can be inconsistent. It's okay as a wall, but right now Sysp just trying to stay ahead or get back ahead of the curve on Khymera. So he wants to put more stuff on the board. And there are 2 skirmishers gone with the Concentrate Fire by Sysp. As does he have another speed or another Blessing of Haste? He has a lot of cards. And there's a flip on the Elder here. And there's a focus as well. So right away, Khymera going back and just clearing the board again. And that's one thing I've seen from Khymera, especially watching his stream from time to time, is that he has some great flip play. Flip's not a card everybody runs, but it is a really good card just for moving problem units that you try and tuck in the back all the way to the front. So even if Sysp had played the Hellspitter Mortar, wouldn't have mattered. Khymera already had the flip in place, as suddenly it is speed generals, hasted generals, just scary generals all the time. And now it's one Gun Automaton just to see if he can get back into the game. As he sacrifices the Hellspitter Mortar, this is not the time or the place for random wall shots. He does get out the... Yay, let's go ahead and look at our new creature here, the Automata Forge, as you're probably well familiar with this very expensive card now. But it can play Gun Automaton. You can pay 3 energy to decrease its cooldown by 1. So definitely a good card if you don't have a lot of stuff to burn. And you can see Sysp going ahead and electing to put some energy down and drop the Copper Automaton as well. So he has a Potion of Resistance in his pocket that he could try and use. But quick Pother on this guy. And the pushback as well. Pother probably more for the card draw there. But notice the Automata Forge, you don't get that refund on the energy. But now Sysp is going to have to pay that again just to put it back out. So he has 3 cards and 5 order. What else is he going to place? It's going to be another Ducal Skirmisher. And notice he puts the infantrymen in front because they can be good chump blockers. But that's all. But right now these other targets are a little bit higher priority. So right there we have some clearing by Sysp. He elects to burn one of the infantrymen, which is very important because look at that. The general is gone just like that. Maybe Khymera could have tried to move the general and place him back, but at this rate, with just the creature elimination there, Sysp being able to take advantage of Khymera, keeping his units in a place where the automaton could do its damage. So Khymera with the Pother, probably for more card draw, or hoping just to move this guy up. As there's a quick Kabonk, once again for more card draw. And Khymera, after having so much momentum earlier and so many cards that he can play, suddenly one wonders if maybe he hoped that round 22 could have been a little bit more eventful, as Sysp can play both Gravelock Elders if he wants to right now. And getting multiple of these on the board is obviously devastating. But right now he's going to play 1 and put out the Automata Forge instead. And what that's going to do is he does protect this 1 health gun automaton with a cannon automaton, which will only take 1 damage for 3 turns. And right here we have the Gravelock Elder, who's just going to be hiding behind this forge. So all around, Khymera has been clawing into this game, but he's been able to do some idle damage, but not a ton. But there's a Decimation and a Kabonk and a Blessing of Haste. So Khymera going all out to destroy this cannon automaton, which unfortunately, that was a bit of a miscalculation there. Because the Potion of Resistance, it does reduce damage to 1, but you got to remember the armor 1 first for the cannon automaton. So that Ducal Infantryman unable to break through because he doesn't buff himself, so he only does 1 damage. So poor Khymera, wanting to take out that unit, but not being able to. Oh balls is the correct response for that. As we're round 23, and these are 2 high quality players, but that doesn't mean that stuff like this can't happen. So quick violent dispersal on the skirmisher. Suddenly sysp is back in control of this match very quickly. He elects to put out the Copper Automaton instead of the Gravelock Elder just this turn, just to try and put pressure with this automaton, possibly to do idle damage, possibly to respond to what Khymera has to offer. And he elects to Imperial Resources and fight another day. That's one thing Order is good as, those Imperial Resources where sysp has not done any idle damage yet. Khymera has bought some time. So he can't, or actually he had done idle damage, but Khymera's been able to heal all the way through it. So he does, he can possibly lose some idols here early and still be just fine in this game. But he is going to have to turn some cards to come back, and sysp getting 2 bombards, that could be especially devastating. So he does elect to go ahead and use one of them, drop the other Gravelock Elder. So this board's going to get cleared again, as there's another automaton who's being spat out by the forge. And we get some idle damage right away. Not enough to take out an idle, but Khymera is officially on notice. He is in trouble. And is he going to be able to get another speed general crazy play out? Yes, he does. But unfortunately, the general's only going to be able to take out, or going to be able to do some idle damage, and that 1 health Copper Automaton. So at this rate, it's going to be just a really big question of, and let me pause as the Thunder Surge comes in, just to soften up these units a little more. Right now we just have the issue of, yes, he was able to take out the Copper Automaton, but what's he going to do with the 2 Gravelock Elders up there? It's suddenly sysp who's ahead of the curve, and with Concentrate Fires and Bombard, this game could get out of hand quickly, especially if Khymera places his units in firing range, but he does elect 2 Imperial Resources again. He knows that he can't necessarily be totally taken out next turn, but sysp can Thunder Surge, and he does do that, just to take out the unit that he can. And right now both these players are just stocking up cards. Seeing what they can try and do is there's an Iron Whip to actually take out the General as well. So sysp getting the cards he needs at just the right time. And with a Concentrate Fire, with a Bombard, like I said, this is possibly getting out of hand fast. But that Iron Whip on the automaton right there, between those 2 Thunder Surges, and that's where the direct damage is really good. You may not be able to take out units outright or completely, but it does soften them up enough to where that General is not going to be able to do what he wants to do. So quick pother for these units and a Knight Scholar. So Khymera getting a little bit of card draw and trying to get his units back in the field. But sysp, once again, he does elect to get rid of the Blind Rage, because that's not going to do enough damage to entirely make a difference. But he does get a Cannon Automaton and a Spark, so both cards he can definitely use right now. So does he elect to Bombard and Concentrate Fire right now, or is he just going to wait for the cooldown? He does get the Automaton out as well. And there is the Bombard. So just damage, and that is 2 idols down for Khymera. Just tough break. Khymera pushed so hard early, but right now he is definitely in trouble, as he's got to work as hard as he can to stop, or to protect that top idol. 2 skirmishers will do that to start with, as Khymera does manage to take out 1 idol. But now sysp is in a position where he can respond. He can put pressure on 2 idols here, where Khymera is going to be forced to split his defenses. And the Blind Rage could be useful here. The Concentrate Fire could make things pretty nasty as well. So let's see what sysp decides to do. It's round 28. He gets out a scattergunner, and right now he could elect to do something, and what he elects to do is actually play the Automata Forge and wait for another turn. Because with Concentrate Fire, he can try and punch through all there. He elects not to Blind Rage and try and soften this up, or at least try and delay these units down here. But at this point, he's picking his battles. He has a lot of units that can pressure both of these low health idols. And Khymera is just gonna have to really try and make something happen here with what he's got. There's a pushback to protect his top idol, and a pushback, so double pushbacks to protect those idols. Focus, so this Vanguard is gonna take out somebody with his big spear. So 1-2 down. So right now Khymera clawing his way back into the game, but the pushback slows down sysp, but it's not like a violent dispersal. But notice there that actually sysp elects to get rid of the Gravelock Elder, which he could have tried to play again, but he's fishing for cards at this point. The Fury's good, that's going to speed him up. The Concentrate Fire's good, that's going to let him get, if he could Fury and Concentrate Fire on the right turn, he could possibly end the game if he can leave an idol vulnerable enough. But it's going to be a matter of what he can get back on the field. There's the Blind Rage just to do a lot of damage. The Spark to go ahead and take out one unit as well. So sysp doing a great job of softening up his opponent as he goes ahead and moves the automatons down. He's probably going to lose this Forge next turn, but at this rate he's just trying to punch through the idols as best he can. And he doesn't want to put the automaton up top because that's asking for it to get focused and smacked. As right there, there's the Honorable General, and there's the flip from Khymera. And notice sysp, by sitting on that cannon automaton, does a good job of not necessarily exposing his big gun to danger. Even though Khymera has more opportunity to defend this area, it's better that, say, a scattergunner gets flipped than a cannon automaton. So that's one less card that Khymera has to respond. But oh, is he responding? He's getting a lot of crap out on the board. As right there we get a little bit more idle damage. But at this rate, there's the Violent Dispersal right away. And right now, sysp, he's just got to try and work around, see what he can get on the field. And it's not going to be a ton at this point. There's the Scattergunner again. But another unit down for Khymera. Sysp chipping away with his direct damage. On here is there's a Kabonk from Khymera. And we have a Ducal Skirmisher out as well. So right now, Khymera going ahead and trying to defend his 2 health idol, moves his units up top. And poor little automaton. What are we going to have here right now? Khymera back in control. And sysp getting a very timely Potion of Resistance if he elects to use it, just to try and protect one of his idols. So let's see. Sysp having a Fury. He can Fury, get a lot of his units to attack. He puts the Hellspitter Mortar out just to maybe try and protect his units, puts somebody behind a wall just so that they don't die immediately. But he does Potion of Resistance the automaton up there, and goes ahead and drops the cannon automaton as well. So there's another skirmisher out of the picture, as sysp looks like he's going to pressure this bottom 2 health idol. Oh, it's 3 health now because Khymera, once again, late in the game, what's Imperial Resources for? It's for when you can sit and take a turn and say, okay, I need more cards. Things are pretty stable, as Khymera is going to get out, he's going to get out a Mangonel. He's actually going to get out 2 Mangonels, but he doesn't have the resources for his speed, so we're not going to see that. Looks like these are walls or force pressure players, or maybe he has some cards in his hand that he's hoping to use next turn for, but right now, Fury and Iron Whip, once again, looks really good for sysp if he can just break through these lines. And there's another Hellspitter Mortar in the middle of the field, just to try and protect this idol more than anything. And there's a Gravelock Outcast as well, and there's a quick Iron Whip. So there's sysp once again trying to hurt, and take everything out. And once again, Khymera going with the Imperial Resources. So what do we got? We have an Honorable General out as well. As let's see here, he is looking like he wants to go ahead and pressure this bottom idol. He drops the Honorable General behind these 2 units to protect him from damage. But sysp cards at this point. He has a Fury. He can speed things up if he wants to, and he gets a Gravelock Elder as well, so there is the GG from sysp. Oh, Khymera, just by sitting and trying to protect your 4 health idol, just with that Fury that sysp held onto his whole time, this whole game. What can Khymera do? He goes ahead and Furies. He doesn't even really need to do anything else because the Scattergunner's already there, hasn't been taken out, elects to go ahead and just use some of his cards as he can. As Khymera, by dropping that general down to protect his bottom idol, left his other idol exposed. And sysp able to take it damage with some simple direct damage and punching through. As there goes the idol, down it goes. And that's GG. Very well played by both players, but at the end, Khymera just not able to protect that last idol, not able to respond. sysp with the win. But that was a good game by both players. Hope you all enjoyed it. This is Way to Fail with another Scrolls Ranked replay. If you want to see more of this or have something to say, feel free to do so in the comments. If you have a replay of yourself you want to submit to me, feel free to do so at w2freplays@gmail.com or message me or anything like that. But I hope you all enjoyed it. I will see you all next time.